All right, welcome everyone. Hope you're all having a good afternoon or evening or wherever and whenever you're watching this. My name is Jordan Bain, and I'm a certified Modern Mystery School guide, international Kabbalah instructor, healer, and teacher in the Modern Mystery School tradition. And this podcast is called Unveiling. Here, we're lifting the veil to see true reality, discussing the mysteries of life, what it means to live a full and joyful light in the light and in service. If this is your first time tuning in, don't forget to follow me on Facebook and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, both of which are under my name, Jordan Bain. My guest tonight is Chiyona Indriya, and Chiyona lives in the Seattle area, and she works there as well. She's a spiritual guide, Wiccan priestess, exorcist, and an apprentice of the founder of the Modern Mystery School, Goodney Gunnison. Welcome, and thanks for being on tonight, Chiyona.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, tonight we're talking about the mind and discernment. And this is a big, big topic. So obviously for all these topics, we go as deep as we can in like half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah, right.
With the mind, we teach so many things in the school. And I love to hear from each guest really like why you do this work and how you found this work and what it means to you. And then we can really dive in. So if you could share that with us for a few minutes.
Yeah, kind of my start, since I was a child, I really wanted the deeper hidden things in life. Like I didn't think that everything was at face value, like all we do is what we were told to do. And I always knew there was something greater that I couldn't quite grasp. And then when I found the Modern Mystery School in 2006, through Cyrus Indriya, my husband, I was studying, I studied different religions. I was raised Christian. I even was atheist for a while just to explore like all avenues of like nothingness to like the all. And I couldn't find anything that really fit with me to find that deeper connection to myself. And there was always this like emptiness and hollowness that I couldn't quite fill. And so when I found the Modern Mystery School in 2006, I met founder Goodney Gunnison, and just everything just opened up within me that I always imagined could be possible, but I didn't realize was actually real until it happened. And I always find it interesting when I work with people, when they realize the work is real, they almost kind of freak out a little bit. They're like, whoa, this is real. Like, wait a minute, you're not just saying these things. Like, this is not just something made up in my mind. But we're gonna talk about the mind today, right? So so I've been, with the school, in the school, part of this spiritual family since 2006, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Amazing. Cool. So with the mind, there's so many ways we can go on this topic tonight, but mind is in some ways everything. I mean, the first Hermetic principle is mentalism, which is the universe is mind. Everything is mind. All is mental. So we can talk about the whole universe tonight. And maybe we will. I don't know. But within that understanding of mind, there's many levels of mind, right? So the universal mind of source or God or whatever you want to call that. A term we use in the mystery school would be like Ensof or without end or limitless light or limitlessness. And that mind is really different than the human mind. Absolutely. That we think of every day, of like the thoughts of, oh, I got to pick up my kid and I got to go shopping and like I have to do this podcast and how's my shirt looking, and those sorts of mind things that we fill our day with. We need them, right? Because if I just don't wear a shirt on the podcast, that would be kind of weird. That'd be weird. And if I don't eat, that would be bad. Yeah. And if I don't pick up my kid, that would not work. Yeah. So we have to have a mind like that, but the mind is a real double-edged sword because it can really take us in directions that maybe we don't want to go. Mm-hmm. Many people have like what modern psychology would call like intrusive thoughts that they don't want to be having. Yeah. Many people have thoughts that are depressed or suicidal. People have thoughts, and then of course the feelings and the emotions that go with those thoughts. People's thoughts are filled with distractions. Like how many YouTube videos someone watches in a day, or like how many video games they play, or the news that they read, and they're turning that over in their mind. Yeah. And the mind is a powerful thing for so many different purposes. The mind can tell stories that are illuminating and enlightening, and the mind can just drag us down to the depths of hell, so to speak, and leave us, despondent and wanting to die. Mm-hmm. So what, in terms of our understanding, what we can offer in this podcast, what do you feel like the major challenges are for a lot of people with mind and discernment? Like, what comes to mind for you? What comes to mind for you when you think about where people struggle with the mind these days?
Well, like you said, in mentalism, all is mind. That's what we teach in the mystery school tradition that's been taught for thousands of years. And what that means is everything that we create is first created in the mind. Everything in our life is first imagined in the mind and created in our life. And so, what people don't understand is our thoughts are hugely important in the way we live our life. And so, just like when we eat healthy foods or junk food, how do we feel? Like when we eat junk food all the time, we feel kind of crappy. I've done that, and then when we eat healthier food or foods that are good for you, not everybody's healthy food is different because we all have different bodies, but what's going to be right for somebody is different for somebody else. But like, we all know what feels good in our body when we eat it. So it's similar to the mind. What we feed our mind really matters. What are you ingesting in terms of media and exposure to information? What are you studying? What are you telling yourself constantly that is affecting your mind and ultimately your life?
Yeah. And how do people get that awareness? Because a lot of people that I meet don't have that awareness of what's in their mind.
I know.
Their mind is filled, but they don't even know it's there.
Yeah, I think that when we get stuck in our physicality, like you said, there's that survival part of us that's like, oh, I need to stay warm and I need to eat food. And there's like that, our what I call our monkey brain that allows us to survive, like keep this vessel alive for the most part. That is the thing that we get stuck in, the logical mind, like this, like 1 + 1 = 2, so then we don't think in our mind that we think this is all there is sometimes, even though we don't. Like, I feel like a lot of us know we're spiritual beings, but we also get like, there's a cognitive dissonance between being a spiritual being and having a physical body. So we're like, well, this is finite, but we're spiritual. So, but then we get lost. That's where the discernment comes in. The confusion comes in. We don't realize that something as abstract as a thought can create physicality.
Say more about that.
But there has been experiments done with that, like Dr. Emoto's work with the water. That is literally a thought experiment into physicality.
Right. So, and for those who don't know, it's changing the structure of a. Exactly, and that's wild that we can do that. And then, but again, back to the day to day and the body focus that so many people have. It's like, well, I need to do those things.
Yeah.
Because I do have to survive. So then how do I, gain the awareness of my own mind? If it's true that my mind is creating, what we teach in the mystery school and what many spiritual traditions teach around the world, your mind is creating your reality. So in what way is it creating your reality? And then, if it's creating your reality and your reality isn't what you want, then how do you change it?
Yeah. Well, in the mystery school, we teach that there's true reality, and then there's subjective reality. So what is subjective is your perspective of what your, perspectives are perspectives. Everyone has opinions. Everyone has a perspective of something. That is what we call subjective reality. And so you got to discern what is true reality and what is subjective reality. And I would say that all the things I learned in the mystery school, the classes, the Empower Thyself, the programs, the initiatory process opens you up to be able to discern the difference between subjective reality and true reality. And that's really what the mystery school here is to do, is to shed away the illusions, shed away what is not real, and allow you to see the true reality, which you can, and then the true reality shows you what is actually happening. For example, all is mind.
Right. That's huge. And I love the way that you're putting it so simply too, that's the purpose of what we do in the school, is to see true reality.
Absolutely.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. Right. It's one of the hardest paths on the planet. And I say that, and I think we've been told that since the beginning. And we get all, our egos are like, well, I could handle this. I could handle something, the hardest thing on the planet. And then we get in it. We're like, they weren't kidding. Like, this really is one of the hardest, but at the same time, it's only hard because we have our monkey brain fighting against us the whole time. Founder Goodney says, all you have to do is let go of illusions. Just let go. Just like it would be that hard, that easy to do, to shift. Just let go. But then we have our logical mind holding on, and that is the hard part.
Right. And it's easier to say from the other side of really having that enlightened higher perspective and putting in the work over the years and, you know, being able to access that. And then when you do see that higher perspective, it really is easy to let go.
Yeah.
But then the work to get to that higher perspective and to anchor that into your life, you know, every day is a ton of work. And a lot of people don't want to do that much work.
They really don't.
The result of that is what comes when you do that. I mean, you're really in charge of your mind.
I mean, for me, suffering is eliminated in my life. I have more joy and passion for the things I do because I'm in alignment with my purpose of why I'm here. Everyone has a unique purpose. And so when I'm more in alignment with my purpose, which is in alignment with my contract with God, I am so much more in joy, so much more empowered, so much more like living every moment to my fullest and also my joy. Like, I just really love being here.
So you're talking about joy and you're talking about alignment and you're talking about your contract with God. What is a contract with God? Just for people to understand it, because that sounds like a big deal.
Yeah, it is kind of a big deal.
It's kind of,
yeah. So I mean, are we here? Like, what is the contract with God? Like, are we really here to just like get a body, grow up, get educated, get a college degree, get married, have kids, have a retirement fund, you know, and then die? I mean, that sounds, that's what I was told when I was born and in the educational systems, right? They don't teach more than that. You know, maybe you write some good books, maybe you contribute to society in some way, you know. But what I'm saying with contract with God is there is a divine spiritual mission you're here, not just to accomplish these milestones in life that society says. Now, those things are good. I think those things are, we're multidimensional beings. It's good to have a full experience. You know, it's good to have a child if you want a child. You know, it's good to have that like experience of life that we came here to have a physical life as well. So it's not to discount those things, but our contract with God is going to really hear. I mean, for me, everyone has a different contract with God, but you co-create that contract with God before coming here into the physical.
Yeah. So that contract, how does that relate back to like your daily use of your mind for you, for example? Because we, you know, can only really talk about ourselves.
That is a really good point, Jordan. I would love to share that with you. So our contract with God, if you really connect with it, eliminates the chaos, eliminates the confusion, and eliminates your inability to choose what is the true reality. So it's like your inner compass. You're like, hey, is this in alignment with my contract and myself and God and my mission? And if it's not, then, you know, maybe revisit that idea.
Right. And, you know, maybe you and I, and maybe some other higher initiates in the mystery school, we've done a lot of work over the years and we're really pretty clear on what our contract with God is.
Yeah.
And maybe we've actually lived large portions of it already. I mean, you and I are around 40-ish, right? And like my life is not even half over.
I know, right?
And I've already accomplished many, many levels of my contract beyond what I ever thought I would ever do in this physical life. When I was a kid, I moved beyond what I thought I would do in this life by the time I was like 26. Through doing mystery school work, within a year and a half of getting initiated, I was like, well, shoot, I finished that contract. I was like, oh, I'm going to go become a healer's initiate and I'll do life activations. And that took me into another part of my contract. And then I was like, that died. And I was like, wow, I'm still alive, but I'm only 30 years old. And I guess I'll go to guide and then I'll guide other people on how to do this for themselves. And, you know, that was over 10 years ago. And so there's been so many iterations of my contract that it's almost like, I wonder how much of it's even a contract anymore, which is interesting. That's, you know, your mind can get so freed from those obligations that maybe we can actually grow beyond a contract and actually be truly free to do anything.
Yes, in the contract, it's not like
Maybe.
destiny or fate. It's not like all set in stone. You're gonna do these
Yeah.
things no matter what. You still have free will. You still have choice. And in the mystery school, everything is created so you can choose what you want in life and no longer become victims to your circumstances. So
Right.
it's all about choice.
Yeah. And we say light work is choice.
Absolutely.
Like light
Well, the
brings
fact of that
awareness.
light work is to ability to choose.
Right.
Mhm.
That puzzled me for so many years because I thought light work, I came out of like a lot of new age background stuff, and I thought light work was about feeling good.
Ah,
I was like, light work is, you meditate and you visualize light, and then it's like yoga, right? I mean, you just do it and you feel good.
well,
And I didn't understand that for years, that
in a
light
way,
work was
I
actually
feel good.
offering
I
choice.
feel I feel good from light work, but is
For
it work?
sure.
It's work. Like, it's not
Right.
easy,
Right.
but I do feel good doing the work that I'm supposed to do.
And
But
yeah.
yeah, but it's
So,
still
but
work.
with choice and the mind,
Mhm.
because we're making choices in our mind, right?
All the time, every moment, every second.
But that's where choices are getting made. We're
Yeah.
not so much making choices in our emotions. Like our emotions in the mystery school, at least we teach, those are more really about the soul. Like the messages of the emotions come in because the soul is sending us a message about some way that it feels
Yeah.
in response to different stimuli, and that
Yeah.
goes through our body. We teach all this in the Empower Thyself class, and
Yeah.
we teach it again in Kabbalah, and
Mhm.
we remind people in Healers Academy, this is, and in Guide, like at every step of the way, like this is how you create your life because it's
Mhm.
basic hermetics.
Yeah.
It's the pure science of like how you take your will into a stimulus that you perceive, and then you bring it into your body and you process it with your soul and with your ego, your wants and your needs, and then that comes down to your mind, and you have a choice about whether you act on that or not. But there's also that other teaching that you have the choice to act on it or not, but then if you don't, someone else will, whether it
Absolutely.
was negative or positive. So you have a really inspired idea for a long period of time in your life, and then someone else acts on it, okay, because you didn't act on it.
Mhm.
Or you have really negative thoughts for a long time and you never act on them, but then someone on TV acts on them.
Yeah.
And the example we use in Empower Thyself is like, maybe someone is shot, maybe there's a robbery, and we don't see how I'm responsible for that because I didn't do it, I didn't choose that.
Yeah.
And yet on some level I chose those thoughts almost by default. So we
Yeah.
get to this really subtle level of ourselves that we would call the will. And then how do you start accessing and changing your mind if your mind is going to act regardless, either through you or through someone else?
Right.
And then we start looking at, well, what is your will? How do you affect the will?
Mhm. Well, it
So
really boils down to our subconscious mind. So we have our subconscious mind, which is in the background. Like, it's subconscious because you're not aware of it. If you were aware of it, it would no longer become subconscious, it would be out into the conscious, or
right.
past the conscious. Awareness is different than consciousness. So with that, like you said, I love how you brought about concept of emotion. True emotion in the moment should last about 15 minutes or less. But most of the time when we get triggered by an emotion, it lasts for hours or days or weeks, like, it depends on the person and what the trigger was. And that is because it's connecting to something from the past that you put in the subconscious, you haven't dealt with, you haven't expressed, you haven't processed. And so that when we get stuck, it's almost like, for me, I call it like a weird form of time traveling. You're no longer living in the moment and you're living in the past experience of when that happened and when that trauma happened or when that trigger happened. And
Right.
so that immediately takes you out of willfully choosing what you want to do in your life. And you're almost an autopilot of these cycles of happening in your mind. Mhm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So the autopilot, how do we combat that in the mystery school? Like what are the things we can do that will take us off autopilot, bring things into consciousness, and then um, and what are the tools, what are the reasons for that?
I mean, Empower Thyself is a great start. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like just getting that
Like
class,
getting initiated.
and also the teachings that are in the class will help with that specific, addressing that specific issue. There's no way to really be like, there's a magic pill or magic statement that's gonna help you automatically stop that process. I mean, I wish there was, because that'd be like a freaking, huge moneymaker. Like, take this pill and you'll have clarity of mind. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Just have gratitude, and then
Yeah.
everything will be
Just
okay.
have gratitude. Just have forgiveness. Just have this. Just be in the now. What does that even mean? Like, of course, it's good to be in the now, but can you actually do it?
Most people don't want to be in the now. They'd rather numb out with some distraction somewhere.
Yeah. But really just finding the inner peace, allowing you to process your emotions in the moment, and also like having mindfulness, just like people say mindfulness, but having that quiet pond within is helpful as well, just to, if you don't have anything else.
So really establishing a meditation practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a start. If you have nothing else.
I can't get to the quiet pond without meditation. I mean, maybe some people can, but my mind is going all day long.
Yeah. Well, meditation is in a way a muscle, like it's an exercise for your mind. So like, how do you stop the thoughts from firing and firing and firing? Meditation is like, put on the brakes, Yeah.
And when we do meditation, we have a lot of ways in the mystery school to get into that meditative state really quickly. And they all involve, breath, visualization, light, really simple.
Yeah.
But really, you have to do them.
Yep. You just have to do it. There's no way around meditation. Just like if you want a six-pack, you can't just think about it.
No.
You got to do the work.
I've been thinking really hard, but
it's just not happening.
No. So that's a difficult lesson for a lot of people, that like you get out what you put in. And the mind is really kind of like a computer like that too. You get out of the mind what you put into the mind.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that a little bit. What do you see? Because you work with clients, you initiate people. What do you see happening with people's minds these days? Like, what are the challenges with people's distractions? Like, what are people spending their time and energy on in their minds?
I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably mostly internet, social media, Google searches. And as we know, anyone can make a website. It doesn't matter if you're certified as a valid source of information. It's not, peer reviewed per se. Anyone can make a website, right? So you get on a website, you're like, well, I found this information on this website, so therefore it's valid. What does that
I heard it from a YouTuber.
Or YouTuber. Oh yeah, YouTuber.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have to be certified in anything to be a YouTuber. You could be a master of aliens and just say that, like you could be anything and just have a YouTube channel and say you're an expert. And so, but people don't really check on the credentials, check on the background information of these people, and then just take it as, the way I see it is, it validates the reality they want to validate. So they find information that's going to validate their reality on internet, on social media, and then they throw out the rest. Well, like that, this validates my reality, so I like this,
Then, and what's the result of that? Like, what comes about when people do that?
I feel like it creates a hall of mirrors. It's like you're creating your own subjective reality that may or may not be true. And then you get stuck in opinions, and then you start attacking your brothers and sisters based on subjective opinions.
I mean, it's happening live right now. Not on this show, but it's happening live on YouTube right now.
All the time. I mean, I feel like, COVID, yeah, it's real. It's, not good for people. And however, I feel like what's worse is people attacking each other about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing that's torn a lot of American society apart in the last 18 months. And a lot of world society as well.
Yeah.
How are we going to handle this? What does it mean? Is it real?
Yeah.
Is it a conspiracy? Was it made in a lab or not?
Exactly.
What about these vaccines? What about other treatments? Are we going to develop natural immunity or not? Like, what's the best way to handle it? What are the best policies? Do masks save lives? Do masks kill people? Like, you know, if you're not following my way of thinking about it, like, you can't be my family member anymore.
Oh yeah,
That's
families are being
intense.
broken up, relationships are being broken up. It's intense.
Right. And that's all happening in the mind.
Absolutely. It's all fabricated in their mind about what they're reading, what they're validating as their subjective reality.
Because there is a reality of COVID.
Absolutely.
There's
It's
a true
it's a
reality
virus. It's a
behind
real
it.
virus.
Right. And yet, what can we validate that for? What about that can we even validate for ourselves? Unless you're actually there studying the virus
Yeah.
as a scientist, or unless you're actually getting the virus as a, you know,
Patient.
patient or someone who gets sick.
Yeah.
You know, then it becomes your objective reality.
Mm-hmm.
But for most people, unless they're actively sick with COVID is not an objective reality in their physical experience that they can validate. But yet, in order to stay safe, they need, and I say need in a strong way here because it's about their survival. They need to tell themselves a story about what it means.
And yeah, and survival is the key here. Thinking about something that's so potentially dangerous as COVID, or not dangerous as COVID. It does trigger our fight or flight mechanism, our monkey brain. It does trigger that survival mode.
Yeah. So, and I think that obviously that's why it's script people, because we wouldn't talk about something that wasn't really important on a world scale. I mean, like, we're still really, really talking about it.
Absolutely.
It's still, like, I don't know if it's the number one headline, but probably most days it's there. I mean, I can't go on social media or Facebook without seeing multiple posts about, you know, all the different vaccine resources I can have access to. I'm like, I'm already vaccinated. Why do I see this all the time?
Yep, absolutely.
I'm sure Facebook knows I'm vaccinated because they know everything. You know, they know what I'm about to say in the next moment. Sometimes it's almost creepy like that. Do they have technology?
I know, I've heard that.
Predict what's going on next. So, but all that aside, that just illustrates to me like how much it's in our collective mind. You know, the collective mind of humanity is really focused on that and is really thinking about that. So, how do we shift humanity also? Because we want to be able to shift ourselves. We've got the tools in the mystery school to do that, but like, what do we do with our mind when someone out there disagrees with us? Like, what can we, especially if we think we have a answer or a better way, or how?
You know, the best way is to kind of flow like in martial arts, like the bamboo forest, you know? So like you gotta, if there's a wind that's blowing at you, you just kind of flow with the energy and try to see the other person as an eternal spiritual being that is a brother and sister that we all love. And regardless of how they're coming at you, how sharp their attacks are, I think the best way is to have compassion for each other and to realize that we're all one and that we're all in this together, regardless of how we're approaching our survival, freak out, essentially, and just to have compassion. Everyone is freaking out, And so I would just say, in our tradition, it's about having compassion and seeing that they're all a divine spiritual being. And I think that once we see each other in that way, it's a lot easier to just allow them to maybe have a little upset moment and not take it personally. But again, like not taking it personally is a deeper teaching in the mystery school. How do we not take it personally? How do we not let them hook into a trigger that we have? Well, simple. Get rid of your triggers.
Okay. So how do I get rid of my triggers?
How do you get rid of your triggers? Well, you got to clean out the subconscious. You got to get rid of your subconscious. You got to empty that out. And you know as well, as a Kabbalah teacher, what that means.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, Kabbalah for sure.
Yeah.
Initiation. It's, I was talking to someone the other day about initiation and just vibration, and how, again, when you're at a certain level of vibration, it's almost impossible to let go.
Absolutely.
And then you get to a higher vibration, and then it's impossible not to let go. What seems so hard before is now so blindingly obvious that of course you're going to do it. Of course you're going to let go, because why would you ever hold on to something like that? As soon as you have the real awareness of what's happening, then you can shift. Then you can make that change.
It's because you started understand. You have to walk. You have to understand the pattern to be able to let go, and that's what Kabbalah, I feel like, is really good for, is to really get that pattern within you, the blueprint within you, to create that muscle to be able to get to the other side of letting go.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it is a muscle. It is definitely
Yeah.
something that we build over time, and repeated effort builds a stronger bridge.
Yep.
Builds a stronger muscle. That,
Yep.
and then we also know in the moment, like, well, I might be suffering now, but I know there's something on the other side, so I'm going to keep going.
And that suffering is really created by ourselves, but also that suffering creates resistance, and resistance, once you push through it, creates strength.
For sure. Yeah, just like an exercise, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're getting close to the end of our time here. What advice would you give to people who are struggling with their own mind and like their own thoughts? Maybe someone whose thoughts just feel out of control, or they feel like their life is in chaos, or they're not really sure maybe why they're watching this episode, but there's something about this that speaks to them.
Like we said earlier, just start a meditative practice. That's a really good start for anyone. Could do it anywhere. There's so many different kinds of meditation. We have really good ones in the Modern Mystery School, but I'm a proponent of meditation in general. Like, any form of meditation is going to be good for you. Just start there, and then if you really want to, shift and change your life and come into your power, I can't help but say, like, contact a Modern Mystery School practitioner and guide. And we have, the path that's been, walked for over 8,000 years, that is time tested, that works. So people are always asking me, like, is there anything else I can do outside of the mystery school teachings? And I'm like, I've tried it and it didn't really work for me. So, like, I can't say, like, maybe there is something outside of what we do, but I'm going to say I'm a strong proponent of walking this path for you.
Mm-hmm. And so in walking this path, what have you seen personally? Like, what changed for you from 2006 until now, after 15 years? And like, what was that progression?
Yeah, I mean, I was a severely depressed individual. Like, I was, like, probably clinically depressed, but I never got on Prozac or anything like that. I never took, like, pharmaceuticals. I just dealt with it on my own and just be, like, miserable on the inside.
Right.
And I don't have it. I don't know what happened to it. It just went away. Like, it just gone. Like, I never
When was that? Like, on your journey, how far into your journey, at what point did you notice, like, oh, that's not really a thing that I struggle with anymore?
I don't really know. I think within the first year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's fast.
It was fast, but I did the way I did mystery school classes in 2007, because I started end of 2006, is you can't even do it anymore. If Sis Miss Dave will be like, no, sister, you can't do like RM1 and 2 and 2.5 2 months apart. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So did your life go through a lot of turmoil as you were going through all those initiations really quickly? And then sort of, no?
Nope, not exactly. Not turmoil. It was almost like an unfolding of energy and more really coming into myself. So I was like finding more joy, more energy, more passion. But not everybody should do things that quickly, and they don't allow people to do that things that quickly anymore, because it can be destabilizing. Right. But I had huge support. I had Osiris Indriya in my life. I had Verla Wade. I had Dr. Teresa Bullard, who is my guide. So I had these are like major powerhouses that were supporting me. And founder Vinny Goodnison, of course, and Ipsissimus Dave, Ipsissimus Hideto, they were all there.
Yeah. So you just went through it really quickly.
Yeah. That's cool. Mean, to be honest, I resisted the path for 3 years. I found out about it in 2003. I came from a religious background, so I was like, nope, not going to get into another organized spiritual, system. And so by the time I got to 2006 and realized what I was avoiding and realized that it was something I should have done in 2003, I was like, I'm behind. That's how I felt,
Interesting.
I resisted for no reason, but that's what I did.
It's so interesting how everyone has such a different path with this work, and people come in different ways, but it's like all those paths lead to so much more joy and so much more ability to feel who you really are and to know who you really are. It's cool to see that. So then how did you decide then to take this into service to other people? Like, what was that journey for you? So you went from, okay, I'm clinically depressed, to within a year, I'm not really feeling that way at all anymore, to I want to help other people with this. What was that for you?
Um, well, I think it's because of my transformation and how I've come out of the darkness essentially and living
Mm-hmm.
the life that I wanted. And I was traveling all over the world and meeting amazing people to do metaphysical studies. And founder Goodney Goodnison is a huge inspiration to me in the way he lives his life. Like anytime, I'm always amazed at what he accomplishes, and I'm always like, how do I do that? Like, I want to do all those things. I want to live like 10 lives at once. How is this
Mm-hmm.
possible? Because
Right.
we're always limited to like, oh, you're supposed to have one career and this is your career path. But he's like, I have 10 or 20 or 100. I don't know at this
Mm-hmm.
point. And so, and I'm a major, one of my mission here is to, I feel like, help people alleviate their suffering, help them
Mm-hmm.
alleviate their suffering. And I see huge amount of suffering on the planet. I see huge amount of people leaving the planet because of their suffering. And so it's a major, it hurts my heart and it hurts me in a way that I feel like I can't
Mm-hmm.
do anything but do this service work.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I relate totally because I feel the same. I'd be like, well, what else would I do here? I wouldn't. I would just leave.
Yeah, exactly.
If I weren't doing this, I would just leave.
I mean, I
So,
kind of did everything I could possibly do in the physical reality without metaphysics. And now I'm like, what else would I do?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I burned through that really young also and was like, oh, maybe I'll just die. Maybe I'll just leave. I don't want to be here anymore. And then really,
Exactly. I was
feels
done.
like, oh, no, I'm going to serve other people.
Yeah.
That's because there's not really much point to me being here on my own anymore. So if I can be healthy and alive and help others, then I'll do that. So lucky that we
Absolutely.
found it young. That's really cool. Great. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time here. Any last words or thoughts that you want to share with people about this path, life, Kabbalah, exorcism, any of the things that we do or are?
Yeah, I mean, exorcism sounds intense, but it's really just releasing the darkness within.
Mm-hmm.
Just releasing, allowing ourselves to be worthy of the light, be worthy of our true self, and be worthy of an amazing life. Like people, I don't feel like deserve that. Like that's what I'm running into. That people don't feel like they deserve an amazing life. Like they have some level of, confidence or worthiness that they need to work through to realize that they are a divine individual, and what kind of eternal being would not be divine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
so
say that too. That's a major theme I've seen this last year. I'm taking a group through Tree of Life right now, two groups through the Tree of Life right now. And a major theme for a lot of people is like, do I deserve to have a truly good life? Like we talk
exactly.
about royalty in the mystery school, and royalty doesn't mean having a lot of money necessarily, although money never hurts anyone in terms of being able to do what you truly desire in life.
Yep.
Like that's always facilitated by having more money. But royalty is about knowing that you are God or goddess in your life.
Yeah.
And if you know that, then you have your crown, you
Hmm.
have your sovereignty, you have your true sense of identity, and then no one can ever take that away from you.
Yeah.
No one can ever shake that. It doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter the job that you're working at, although your job should ideally reflect your higher self. We
Yeah.
teach that in the mystery school. Like if you want to really progress in life, your work should be a reflection of your higher self.
Hmm.
The value you
Absolutely.
offer to other people shouldn't just be what your degree or your society told you to offer. It should be what your higher self wants to offer to the
Yes, and when
world.
that happens, you have joy.
For sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. You have that reflection as above, so below. Your higher self is expressing itself and you're actually getting paid for it in your
Yes,
life. But royalty isn't even that. Royalty is just knowing that you are eternal.
exactly.
And the resistance to that is high right now.
Hmm.
I mean, I think it's always been high. So let's be fair. I think humanity's always resisted this concept that we are infinite, eternal beings, and that maybe in older times, religiously, people understood it from a conceptual level, but then to actually live as a royal, eternal being, truly in charge of your life, is something that's really different than just
Yeah,
like
I mean,
believing a religious teaching.
and I think that that is true. The concept of infinity or being eternal is it's just meta. It's out there. Like people understand the concept, but they don't understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
and they don't know how it applies to their life right now.
mhm.
Great, I'm an infinite and eternal being. Like Ipsissimus Adetto talks about that all the time. He's like, you're eternal and galactic. And you're like, great. And
Exactly.
so what? Like, I'm eternal and galactic. Great. Someone want to tell me more about that? It says, are the aliens going to land? Is an angel going to come down and like bless me? what does it mean that I'm eternal and galactic? And then we start to take it inside and realize like, that's me. I have to do something with that.
Well, it shows that we have, it's not just we're here for no reason. We have purpose.
Right.
And then with that, we have choice, which gives us responsibility for all of our actions.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, right? It's the responsibility. That's why we say it's hard, because you have to, if it's true that you are God or goddess, and it's true that you are truly responsible, then God or goddess is completely responsible.
Absolutely.
They're not partially responsible. They're not, well, somebody else is responsible. They're not, you know, the famous thing, I think I've said this on my podcast before, but I had someone come to an intro many years ago in 2014, and they were like, well, you know, literally they said in the intro, Barack Obama is responsible for me not progressing spiritually because he's president. I can't do that. And it's like, wow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's a victim.
Okay. Regardless of your political opinion, you know, and I've also had people say Donald Trump is responsible for me not progressing when Donald Trump was president. And I, you know, Biden hasn't been around long enough, but maybe someone's going to come around and say that about Biden. And it's all not true. It's
not true. But if you think that, like, all is mind, it's true.
Exactly.
If you feel like
you stopped
those
yourself
people are affecting your life negatively, it will affect you negatively because you create that in your mind.
Exactly. That's that level of responsibility. It's like, it's an ultimate responsibility, whether you're using it consciously or not. So you could create a false narrative in your mind that blocks your progress. And, you know, it's that I don't remember who said that, but you know, whether you think you can, I think it was Henry Ford, but I don't know if that attribution is correct. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because your reality is there.
Yep.
You just said, this is my reality. And then and because you are, according to mystery school teachings, because you are God or goddess, you're right.
Yeah.
And then you get to have that.
And then you live that life, how you create it, whether it's suffering or joy.
Yeah. So let's create more joy.
Yeah.
No, seriously though. And we need the bridges. We need the tools to do that. So thanks for chatting with me tonight.
Absolutely. It was lovely. Yeah. I mean, it went by so fast.
I know. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, say hi to Osiris for me. And
I will.
Yeah. I hope you all have a great night. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Again, my name is Jordan Bain. My guest tonight is Chiyona Indriya, discussing the mind and discernment. If you like this, subscribe on YouTube. Click on Facebook. You can get notifications. Like, click that little bell to get notifications. Facebook's always changing their icons. So whatever you need to do, turn on live notifications. So when we go live every week, you get to see a notification and then you can tune in. So if you missed this live, they're all archived on my Facebook page under Jordan Bain. They're also archived on my podcast on my YouTube channel, which is also under my name, Jordan Bain. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Take care. Love you all.